Hey, Lorne, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
You know what? I'm actually really excited because today we're going to talk about something from the old school. You may not know this, but back when I first started the Defunct Games website, all the way back in the early 2000s, one of the most popular shows that we had was the Cover Critic. That's where we would review the cover art for a lot of the new games that were coming out at the time, along with some old titles that deserve to be talked about. I had so much fun doing that back in the day that I wanted to bring that idea back, especially since we spent so much time recently looking at all types of different covers, from Mega Man to comparing the Mega Drive and Genesis to Nintendo Power. What we're going to do today is talk about some of the biggest games from the first half of 2019 and see what we think of their box art. Because, Lauren, I think both of us have a lot of opinions.
A lot of opinions, not necessarily good ones, but certainly diverse and deep and insightful, and all the great things in life wrapped up into one very informative video.
Definitely. So I'm excited today to do that. But before we do that, I want to say a couple of things about what we're going to do here today. Most importantly, we're not reviewing the games. So if you came here expecting us to talk about in depth about these different games and how maybe it influences the covers, you're not going to get a lot of that. We're mostly today going to talk about just the cover art and whether or not we like it and what we like and don't like about it and what they could have improved and all of that fun stuff. We're gonna grade each of the covers, and hopefully you'll play along, you in the audience, and you'll let us know what you think of each of these covers. That's the most important thing you need to know about today. The other thing that I wanted to do was highlight an older cover that we love, sort of as a way to gauge where we're coming from. I figured that'll give people in the audience a taste of what we're looking for from our box art. So, all right, Lauren, let me ask you, what cover would you consider to be iconic?
It has to be Mega Man #1, the US version. It really speaks to me on a number of levels. It really does.
You're not gonna do that.
No, not at all. No, I'm just joking. It's The Force Unleashed.
The Star Wars game.
Correctamundo. It's a great cover.
Okay. Yeah, that is a memorable one.
Very memorable. I mean, it sums up the motto of every single time the developer sat down, which is kicking ass with the Force. Mm-hmm. And that cover is Galen Merrick, aka Starkiller, kicking all kinds of ass with the Force.
Okay, yeah, that's a good pick. I'm gonna go with the Japanese cover for Eco. Now, I know some may say that this is a response to that horrible box art we got in America, but I disagree. I love everything about this design. I love the small characters and a large hand-drawn world. I love that it looks like it came out of a fairy tale or a scrapbook by Terry Gilliam. Whoever decided to scrap this design for that crap we got in the US deserves to be in prison right now. The game would have sold so much better with the original artwork, or maybe it wouldn't. Who knows? Who knows? What I do know is that we have a packed show full of great covers, and I want to just jump right into it with our first cover.
Let's do it then.
Up first, we have what I believe is the most popular game of the year, Anthem, and I'm only saying that because I don't pay attention to the charts. Do you know anybody that actually plays Anthem, Lorne?
Not anyone, no.
Is this a popular game?
No, not really, no.
Yeah, it just seems like it kind of came and went. I love BioWare. I love a lot of their old role-playing games, but I don't know. It feels like this had so much promise, and then it came out, and everyone's like, oh, it's just like Destiny. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not interested in that. But when it comes to this box, I actually really like this design. I think this is incredibly striking. I like that, it has the A pattern, and then it's repeated throughout, showing different worlds. We get to see a bunch of different characters. I assume those are some of the characters in the game. It has an interesting logo, but this is something that if I were to walk by it in a store, this would have caught my eye. I think my main problem with this cover is that there's just a whole lot of white on the cover. Like there's a lot of it's a lot of unused real estate. Like they could have done something with that background or something with the white section. I don't know. It's just too white.
Yeah, the white is in vogue at the moment. It seems to be all the rage with game covers. I think Phantom Pain had a similar motif, didn't it? With the although they had a black version and a white version. The white version got released on more places. But anyway, it just seems to be the thing at the moment where it does exhibit a lot of wasted space on the cover, which in this case, considering they've got a number of different characters to mess about with, different suits as well. Yeah, they could have maybe been better served using some of that space to exhibit those, maybe a bit more. But you are right, that motif in the middle with the triangles, you know, exhibiting different backgrounds and things, it's a nice touch. It's certainly
I really like that.
unique looking.
But the problem with that is that
it's confusing.
Well, not just that, but the separate triangles end up being so small that the only one you can really see is that first one. And I think maybe that would have helped out if instead of having the white background, it being yet another world or something like that. I don't know if that would have stood out as much. But I mean, what this does, and I hate to compare it to it, but it looks like a cardboard cutout that you would see at like a game store.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I think the biggest problem I have with it is just it's a bit too reminiscent of Halo for me. The main figure has a Master Chief feel. The rings on the the most outer triangle kind of look Halo-ish. It's a blue sky. It's all just a bit too reminiscent of that. Again, they're nice designs, don't get me wrong. It's just nothing about this, again, screams anything unique, which is, ultimately a criticism that was leveled at the game. But as far as the cover is concerned...
Yeah, that is the problem with it, is that there's very little here that's really unique.
Exactly. Even down to the font. The font is, they're just missing a few things with regards to the numbers, to the letters themselves. It's just nothing here that's all that impressive or memorable.
I like the idea, but yeah, it doesn't have enough to it, and it would have looked better with a different background, I think. I'm giving this one a B.
Actually, yeah, the same. I think if you'd have had, because you've got space, but if you want to keep the triangle motif either side of the main character in the foreground, you've got plenty of space there to mess around with. Even the smaller triangles in the middle there, you could probably make room for on the right and left-hand sides and give them, like you said, a bit more emphasis so you can actually see them. Yeah.
I like the idea, but I don't know if this would be enough to get me to play the game.
Indeed. Yeah, I agree. So coming up next, we've got Crackdown 3. I don't know how you feel about this one, but considering the previous two covers of the previous two installments, it's a departure because the previous two covers placed a very, very strong emphasis on two things: action and the agent in action. This cover does neither of those things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is a baffling cover. Maybe that should be expected. Maybe it was a given considering the development hell this game went through, but it's such a departure from the other boxes. And what I really hate is how it doesn't... Look, here's the problem. Microsoft has spent the last 2 years showing us Terry Crews. He's been trotted out at all the game shows. He's in the commercials. He's everywhere. Yet they don't use him on the cover. It's just sort of random dude jumping.
It's impressive to me that you can tell that, by the way, because who knows? It's just a random figure in front of a random cityscape by all other accounts. Really.
Look, I know there's something that we're both thinking here, so let's just get it out on the table. This is a very butt-forward cover. The guy's definitely putting the crack in Crackdown. Now, here's what I like about this cover. It's the only thing I like about this cover is that it actually looks like the game.
Sure, yeah.
Everything else about this cover, I think, misses the mark. It doesn't have any orbs. And if you're going to scatter thousands of orbs in a game, you should show us some orbs. That would at least show us what we're getting ourselves into. The other thing is that he's just too close to the camera or to the cover or whatever. So we can't really see what he's doing. It's just a guy blocking everything. There's nothing exciting happening in that world to draw us in.
100%. If you pan this exact same shot back another 20 feet, you've got the figure in potentially midair diving towards a cityscape that's hopefully detailed, well designed, with some destruction in the background, some orbs, some of the cars, some of the enemies. You'd have tons to play with there, and it would be not only more a fair representation of what the game's going to be, it would be closer to the previous titles' covers, which would give it some uniformity which you want in a game series that you're trying to... and let's not forget, Crackdown was always sold on the premise of, remember the first two games? Remember how fun they were?
Yeah.
Well, this one's going to be... Well, wouldn't you want to invoke that on your cover, rather than what appears to have happened, which is... I'm not sure... Is that Terry Crews? Difficult to tell from this angle. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time staring at Terry Crews' ass, but I'm going to have to if I'm going to be able to tell if that's him. So, yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, the first two covers, when I went back to look at those, I mean, they looked like they were part of a comic book.
Indeed.
And this, it's just, it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like they took the picture too close. This is like one of those pictures they would have flipped through and like, nope, not this one, not this one. Oh, there, he's in the right angle. But not this angle, he's too close.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where they've taken the picture with a comic book phone filter on someone's phone. It looks a little bit cartoonish and a little bit realistic, but not enough of either to look good in each respective genre.
Yeah. So I ended up giving this one a C-.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I don't like this cover that much.
That's harsh. It's a harsh grade. I gave it a C- too.
Okay. All right, well, so far we're in agreement. So, Lorne, you know how sometimes people will occasionally say that this generation is too obsessed with taking selfies in dangerous locations? Like they'll go to Mount Everest or something like that in order to, get a lot of likes on Instagram. Well, that's kind of how I feel about this Days Gone cover. I feel like if this guy were to just look backwards, he'd be very concerned, because this is the wrong time to take a selfie. This, there's really a lot going on in this cover, and I'll tell you what, this is one of the covers that genuinely surprised me. This one did a lot for me, and I didn't expect that, because I, sort of like everybody else, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations for Days Gone, either the game or this cover. But I kind of like this cover, and I'm going to try to work through it here. First and foremost, because I spend a little time doing this, I think that this cover sells the fear of zombies better than most covers. And we're going to get to another zombie game here in a second that tries to show the fear of zombies, and I'm not sure it succeeds quite like this one does. Because this one, I mean, usually, I'm not that scared of zombies in general, because they're usually pretty slow, and you can just go someplace where they aren't. You can wait them out. But like, this is a running herd of zombies, and I counted, there are 78 of them, and they're all coming at you at once, and that guy does not have enough bullets to take them out. I don't know why he's so calm. I would not be this calm. But I like this because there's a lot of intriguing mystery about this. There's, I wonder what's going on with the people in front of him. Like, looks like some dead bodies there. Did he just have to kill some people? Or there's I also wonder why isn't he more concerned? But here, I'm going to tell you why I kind of like this cover a lot, is because this is set in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I live, as you may or may not know. And the color scheme and the mountains and the trees, this is all very accurate. So it's going to get a good grade for that reason.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Days Gone?
I have the same thoughts, just a different interpretation. I'm thinking, if you've got that wonderful horde of zombies chasing you, just salivating at the mere thought of your, tearing you to pieces,
that delicious flesh,
you would not be sitting there like that, and therefore it's a bit, like.
Okay, so it pulls you out because it's unrealistic.
A little bit. It's a bit like the action hero diving out of the window when the explosion's happening behind them, and then they just get up and kind of go, "Huh, well that was close." You wouldn't be doing that. You'd be going, I'm on fire. Not,
of course.
Kind of in this situation, you wouldn't be kind of going, "Wow, such a desolate and hopeless world we live in. I better sit, contemplate things by my bike." You'd be, "Oh my God, there's a horde of 70. How many?
78.
78 zombies coming behind me." I had time to count because my fear has reached just peak levels and my adrenaline is coursing through my veins to the point where I cannot control any of my faculties. Oh, wait, I have a motorcycle. I'm able to flee. It's one of those weird things. The detail is lovely. The color palette is actually, even though it's kind of washed out, the contrast with the light is actually really nice. It means that you don't lose any of the detail. But as wonderfully drawn and as wonderfully colored as it is, it's just one of those things where if they're trying to sell the desolation and the hopelessness of the zombie apocalypse, don't look so cool, dude.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think my only other problem is there's nothing about this cover that really shows how Days Gone is unique. Like, I'm not... Like, I don't know, unless it's just there's always a herd of zombies after you. I'm not sure what makes this game unique just from this cover.
Indeed.
So what are you giving this game?
I'm giving this another C.
It's a C. Wow. Okay. I went way higher than that. I went with a B. I think this is one of the better covers of the year. Up next, we have Mortal Kombat 11, and from what we were saying earlier, I think you have a lot to say about this one, Lorne, don't you?
I have a little bit to say. The main takeaway from this is simple. In a game that promises time travel, that promises multiple worlds, that promises the biggest roster in the game's history, this is it.
Yeah.
Of all the ethereal designs you could have incorporated, the wonder, like Kronika looks amazing as a character. You've got the variations of the different characters, so you can do the mirror images on the cover and it would make sense. You've got different locations, locales, and the gore, obviously, to pick from. And all you really have is very well designed, by the way. Scorpion still looks badass as ever.
Yeah, still looks great.
Kind of lunging in the general direction of something off-screen. It's just a little bit lackluster, but I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh. What do you think?
I definitely agree, but I think more than anything what this does, I think we need to admit something. I think we need to admit that Mortal Kombat has always had bad covers. And I pulled up a few here to demonstrate.
Okay.
The very first Mortal Kombat, just the logo and the symbol. It's simple.
The logo's pretty dope, though.
I have no problem with any of this. But here's the problem.
Okay.
They do the exact same thing with the sequel.
I kind of like that.
And then the third one, okay, they have a skull and then the logo. And then it's Goro, and fine, we get a couple other characters, but the lighting's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty tragic.
And it's just, it looks awful. And then again, we're back to just kind of having the logo. And then again, just kind of having the logo. Again, we get a character, but you can barely see him. It's all dark. And then by the time we get to Armageddon, it's again just the logo. And I think that's kind of the problem here, is that they're really bad at creating good cover art. They've always been bad. Like, I tried to write down the pros and cons to figure out what are things that I like and dislike about each cover. And just about the only thing, I came up with two things. One is that it's very yellow. The other is that the dragon symbol is more obscured than normal.
Making it almost pointless for it being there, but still.
Yeah. But the rest is all just negatives. I don't think any of this explains what you're going to get in the game, or why is this one different than the rest? Because, I mean, come on, the rest already had Scorpion. He's in all of them.
Indeed, yeah. He's a staple of the series. And more to the point, as we referenced in the Days Gone entry, their their use of a single color, albeit with variations, and use of highlights, they still manage to distinguish the foreground from the background. You don't really have that here. With this cover, it's a little bit too washed out, a little bit too flat despite the nature of the pose. And again, they did this with Mortal Kombat X. It was just Scorpion on the front cover. Albeit it was more dramatic because he's drenched in black. It's just the contrast of the light that illuminates him. It still looks kind of cool, albeit it's still simplistic. But this one in particular, given the nature of the story that they were trying to tell and the roster they had available, it seems like it's the least inspired choice that they could have picked. Because it is literally just going, well, who's the mascot of the game? Scorpion. Well, let's just stick him on the cover and it'll be fine.
Yeah, this is the wrong kind of simple.
Yes,
I agree. This is a cover that hopes that you like both Scorpion and sequels.
Indeed.
And you nailed it. You said, in a game that has time travel and different dimensions and mirror stuff and all kinds of other great stuff. This is what we can, come on. This gets a C- from me.
This one, a little bit higher, it gets a C from me. Yeah, I was a bit more favourable, just because, again, when you consider all of those, the character releases and how well they were done, the way the game looks fantastic, this is the cover that we get. It's just, it's underwhelming, to say the least.
For sure. Right, now it's the time to talk about Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. This is one of those games that I hear everybody talking about this game, and it's like the only thing they're talking about is how difficult this game is. What I didn't find difficult about this game, though, was my opinion about the cover. And it's mostly because I don't like it very much.
What don't you like?
Okay. I should love this cover. I love samurais. I love shadowy characters. So I don't understand what is it about this that I don't like. So again, I went back to my pros and negatives. I tried to figure out what. Maybe there's a math equation here that explains it, but no. Okay, here's something I do like about it. I like that we don't get to see the face. It's shadowed. It's we don't really see who it is. And I like that it has the two swords are highlighted. That's pretty cool. I also think that his left arm is intriguing. It makes me curious what the hell's going on with that. The problem, and it's the same problem I had, weirdly enough, with Crackdown 3, is that he's just too close. Like, if we just pulled out a little bit, just a little bit, it seems like we would see more of the background, we would see what he's fighting against, we'd see, like, it would be a cooler action shot. But because he's so close, it kind of looks like an awkward position that he's in, because we don't know what he's aiming at. We don't know really what he's doing. Is he on top of buildings? We can barely see anything in the background. It should be intriguing. It looks intriguing, but it's just, it's not.
No, you're right. Yeah, for me, the figure, his proportions are too long. It makes him look a little bit out of whack. The thing with samurai as well that I find is that the thing that makes them look aesthetically appealing is if their armor or any of the stuff that they're adorned with has a lot of detail. This guy doesn't really have any details to his figure apart from obviously his gauntlets and a little bit of detailing on the samurai swords.
Yes.
But it makes him just generally a bit bland.
Yeah.
It's just, and the only real contrast in the entire picture is the flame, and the flame doesn't look all that good. I'm not. It doesn't display the motion like if he's in an action pose because he's moving from pose to pose, or if he's just standing there, for whatever reason. There's a lot that they're trying to do with this. I feel they're obviously trying to hit all the benchmarks of samurai sword, fire, potentially gizmo arm. The shadowy face, the ponytail, but they're not hitting any one of them very well. That would be my takeaway, is that they've tried to include a lot here. The logo in the middle is nice because it doesn't draw attention away from the figure, but it doesn't necessarily draw any attention away from the logo.
Yeah,
but
sure.
There's nothing, again, all that distinctive. it's just the pose is a bit flat, and it's not. It doesn't draw your attention all that much, does it?
No, not at all. It's just it's a generic action shot that it feels like something I'm going to forget really quickly. And it doesn't convey what I think a lot of people like about the game, you know, and that's the real problem with this. And I feel like with a game that is so purposely difficult, there's a lot of things they could have done to really play into that on the box art.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's just so generic.
Yeah, some form of struggle, just something to give that sense of this game is really going to be difficult. There's nothing intense, or there's nothing presenting much of an adversarial threat to this pose. He's just standing there.
Exactly.
You know, something to give him a bit of something to think about would be nice in a game that, you know, kind of leans more heavily towards that challenging style of gameplay.
Yeah. If they just pulled out the camera just a little bit, I think this would have been a better cover and would have gotten a higher grade. But as it is, I gave it a C+.
Okay, interesting. I gave it a C.
Huh. So I guess somebody saw Mad Max Fury Road, huh? Well, this is Rage 2, and I hear you have some thoughts about that, Lorne.
I do have some thoughts. I mean, number one, trying really hard to be Borderlands 3 before Borderlands 3 was announced. That kind of annoyed them, I would imagine. I mean, it's colourful, it's bright, it's vibrant. It's obviously got a very the use of the different sizes of figure I actually like, because even though it's not in proportion, they've used the pole there to distinguish between the two, and it leads into it's a nice little trifecta of images they've got there. And it's just a very striking, but even though it's got a kind of a messy feel to it, a very clean looking cover. At least that's my opinion. But what do you reckon?
The color scheme definitely catches my eye. It's not something I would have chosen, but boy, if I was walking past this and saw this on the shelf, it would catch my eye, and that's sort of what they're going for.
Indeed, yeah.
The truth is, I really like everything about this cover except for the angry incel dude that's the biggest guy and has that dumb haircut. Like, everything else about this, like, everything else is fine. Like, again, I love the framing. The three different parts. There's a lot of intriguing things going on here, even if some of it feels a little familiar to other, you know, post-apocalyptic movies and games and things like that. But I could see how maybe this has a unique personality, and I just don't like I don't like that guy. I think that's my big problem.
To put it in perspective, if you were to compare this to Anthem and use that game cover's application to this, all you would have is the Rage 2 logo, you'd have the giant guy in the foreground, and the other two spaces would be left completely blank. This is the way you use a white background to contrast with the bright and vibrant colours and black highlights. There's not, when you break it down, there's not a lot going on here.
No.
But the way it's designed gives you that impression that there's movement, that there's a story going on that it's trying to convey to you in very short bursts. It's just, you know, and I understand what you're saying about the guy. His facial expression is that of a very, very surprised individual.
It's just
trying to figure out what news he's been given there to warrant such a response. But nevertheless, they are trying to convey with this game more than the original incarnation that it's more fun. The first game had a more serious tone to it, despite the fact that it was id Software and they're more synonymous with Doom. This time, they're really trying to sell, this is going to be fun, guys. This is going to be tons of weapons and loads of stuff.
It's going to be
But then, problem is, again, Borderlands 3 dropped, which, you know...
Sure.
Oh well. But as far as this is concerned, I like it. I like the fact that they're trying to convey all those points with the cover, the colour scheme, and the design. It's good.
When I see this much purple, I expect to see either Prince or Jessica Jones. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not Jared Leto's Joker.
What you're trying to say to me is he's in the middle of screaming purple rain. Is that what you're trying to tell me now?
And this has nothing to do with the actual artwork, but Rage 2 it's just an uninspired name. And when your name is Rage, it seems like you could add the name Rage to another word, or like to have a Rage On or Rage Cage, or even Ragier, or Post Rage, or Rage Against Machines, or I don't know, just something. That has that's not just Rage 2.
Nothing to do with the gameplay either, by the way. Nothing in the original game that were like it's like a drug that you use, or a type of weapon that you get, or a faction that you fight against. It's literally
that feeling you have.
What can we call a game that's going to invoke a reaction? I know, Rage. I like it.
Well, they got the poster boy for that feeling, I guess. I gave this a B-.
I gave this a B- too.
Oh, in agreement again. All right, here we are at our final cover of the day. We're talking about... Look, here's something that I didn't expect. The best rated game of the first half of the year, according to all the media sites, the Metacritic and all that stuff. It seems to be Resident Evil 2. The best game of the year is a remake so far. How could that be? Now, I don't think it's the best game of the year so far, but we're not talking about the game itself. We're just talking about the cover. And Lorne, I know you're not a big horror fan, so I want you to talk about what are your thoughts about Resident Evil 2?
I'm not overly intimidated by the cover this time due to a notable lack of spiders, but I like the dichotomy of the cityscape versus the figures. They've done a good job in incorporating both, because I know that the city plays more of an active role in Resident Evil 2 than the first game, which was set in a house. The two main characters take the center stage. The light contrasts the zombies with the main characters. It's a nice blend. It's a good color palette. But what do you think?
I like this cover a lot, but it falls into that trope that we also saw with Days Gone, where, boy, if our heroes would just turn around, they'd be in a lot better shape if they just turned around, guys. They have, come on.
So save us all the 9 hours of gameplay. Just turn around and start firing, for God's sake.
I'm also pretty sure that this is where the lightning strikes and gets Marty and the DeLorean back to 1985.
Wait, Doc! There's all these things walking around. Wait, Mom!
I think the best thing about this cover are the characters. I think they look great. I think they this is maybe the best looking any of the Resident Evil heroes have looked on a cover. It's also a striking cover. I like how it's, it's the contrast of the city burning underneath, and then kind of a close-up of the action. There are far fewer zombies than there were in the Days Gone cover, but that doesn't mean that it's less intimidating, though it's intimidating in a different way, because these two let them get a lot closer. My issue here, though, and I think the reason I'm not giving this a much higher score, is because they don't do a whole heck of a lot with the city in the bottom part of the cover.
Sure.
Like you can see some fires and stuff, but boy, it could be a whole lot more destroyed. And I don't think it sells the destruction as much as it could. But I like the contrast in the colors.
Indeed. I mean, with the sky, for instance, this is just a very silly little thing for me. I know that you wouldn't have it as like the bat signal, but you could have the Umbrella Corp logo kind of sort of nestled amongst the clouds using the color scheme just to help sell that element, because it's a massive part of the game, obviously. And yeah, as far as the cityscape is concerned, maybe a helicopter or some debris or more prominent destruction to the city might be helpful, just to, because otherwise the impression it gives at a glance is that that's how the city looks before and this is how the city looks now above, when it isn't. There's both supposed to be taking place simultaneously.
Right, and even then, the above city doesn't look that destroyed. Like, they're just out in the middle of a street, so, no fires or anything there.
No. I mean, as far as the figures, by the way, I mean, I get that what you're saying, which is they could just turn around. You do get the impression from the way that they're pressed in terms of the action in the background, though, that this is not just necessarily a pose. This is one of those situations where they might just be backing into each other because they are genuinely getting cornered. Which makes more sense.
They're in the middle of a big swarm or something,
Indeed,
for sure.
Yeah. As opposed to sitting in front of one's motorcycle contemplating whether or not Justin Bieber's last album was actually better than his previous one. It's more like, oh, we're actually being cornered here. It wasn't. But you get what I mean. It's more...
Yeah, for sure.
The action makes more sense within the context of the frame. They're not doing something cool for cool's sake. They're trying to be tactical. At least it looks like they're trying to be tactical.
And I make fun of the idea that, you know, all they have to do is look behind. But the truth is that is actually an accurate representation of what this game is like. Where, you know, oh, hey, let's turn around. Oh, hey, there's a zombie there. So that's, you know, that's not a bad thing. I like this cover, though. I'm giving this a B+. I don't think this would be improved by having 78 zombies on the cover. I think that it's fine the way that it is. But it could have just a little bit more destruction in the lower part of the cover, I think. I think that's my main complaint. No,
and I'm nearly in agreement with you. I gave it a B.
A B?
Yeah, mainly because it's again, there's just something about it that isn't 100% memorable. I think it's because there's nothing distinctive necessarily about the zombies, and
you barely see them.
Yeah, you can barely see them, and so you're only left with the characters, and with all due respect to the characters, I know they've gone on to be iconic within the series.
Yeah.
On this cover, they kind of just look like two people. Like
just a couple people, sure.
Just a couple of people with, you know, very, very well done hair for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a hair out of place.
At least it's better than the original Resident Evil 2 cover. I think we can both agree on that.
It's god-awful, isn't it?
Oh, so bad. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Cover Critic. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite cover of 2019? It doesn't have to be one of the ones we just covered, because there have been a ton of games released this year. Also, let us know your thoughts on these boxes, and let us know what we should cover in the future. We'll be back on Monday with a very furry episode of Game Over. And in the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.